Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Erica. We're
Hi.
starting. Hi, everyone. I'm Anna from GreenGeeks, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar by Jennifer Bourne, how to use content to create fast path to cash on your website. I'm going to introduce Jen in a moment, but we're very glad to have you here, Jen.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say real quick a couple of words about GreenGeeks for those of you who are joining us today and don't know. We're a 300% green energy web hosting provider, which essentially means that we put back 3 times the power we consume into the grid in the form of renewable energy. We have been recognized by the US EPA since 2009 as a green power partner, and we offer share hosting, reseller hosting, VPS, and dedicated server. So that's about GreenGeeks. Moving on to the webinar, I want to give you some housekeeping items. If you have questions, if you could please put them in the Q&A section, and Jen will be answering them at the end of the presentation. But you can chat in the room if you want. You know, we're always monitoring the room. Just remember that if you want everybody to see what you're discussing, you need to select the option of all panelists and attendees. We're recording this, also very important. So if you need to step away for whatever reason from your computer, don't worry, because we will be sending you the recording in a couple of days. Now we're going to introduce our team. We have Erica from GreenGeeks here. Erica, do you want to introduce yourself to the attendees?
Hi, Anna, and hi, Jennifer, and everyone. My name is Erica Barbosa. I am from Costa Rica. I work in the partners team. And today I'm going to be in the chat, reading your comments and sharing some information. And I hope you enjoy today this webinar with Jennifer. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Erica. And now I'm going to introduce Jen. Jen, I call her Jen because we're friends. Jennifer, we're friends from many years and many camps. So Jen helps small businesses build brands, create content, and grow profitable online platform. And she has translated her experience into popular workshop-style conferences you may have heard of, like Content Camp and business training and mentorship programs like Profitable Project Plan. She has 22 years of experience as a graphic designer, 16 as a web designer and creative agency owner, 12 as a blogger, and 5 as a course creator and content designer. And she's known just as much for her business system and client management strategies as she is for her road trips, daily workouts, and waffles. Welcome, Jen. Would you like to say hi and dive right into the presentation?
I sure can. It is good to have all of you here with us today. I am excited to be here with GreenGeeks to talk to you about content. More specifically, to talk to you about using content to create fast paths to cash on your website. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to take a look at some slides and dive right in. All right, like I said, we're talking about fast paths to cash. And we can't talk about that without understanding why, right? How content is organized and structured on your website is your site's information architecture. It's how the information you're presenting to your audience is organized and architected so it can be found, right? How well you architect that information, how much effort goes into the content strategy of your site determines how easy it is for people to find the content that they want quickly and easily. Now, every website has 2 sections, at least the ones that I work on, right? The first section, I call it the money section. It's the section of the site dedicated to sales and conversion. It's dedicated to getting somebody who came to your site to be a client or a customer. These are your services pages and all of the pages that are part of your core funnel or part of your core buyer journey as people are moving through that process from becoming aware of what you offer, considering it as a fit, and then deciding to take action. Then there's the other part of the website. It's the education and positioning section of the site. This is the blog, right? This is all of the pages and posts related to reinforcing your branding and your marketing and your positioning, right? So these two sections are the sections that we're typically creating content around. Today, we're focusing on the second section, the education and positioning content, or the blog, which is basically a digital file cabinet for your business's website. Just like you have a file cabinet in your office, you have one on your website. It's just the place that you store all of the news and announcements, the knowledge, the resources, the demonstrations, the stories, everything associated with your business that doesn't fit into those money pages, right? It all gets stored in your blog so people can find that information quickly and easily. So brand content that doesn't belong on those money pages, right? It's things like articles, videos, audios, slide decks, infographics, charts, research reports, case studies, all kinds of different things. It can be company news, it can be testimonials, case studies, you can put whatever you want over there. The thing to understand about a file cabinet is that it's only useful because of the way it's built and organized. So if we think of our blog as a file cabinet for your website, categories are the drawers of that file cabinet. They are the large topical buckets to help you organize content. So categories are how that shareable information is grouped from a big picture topic perspective. Then when you put information in a category, when you assign it to a category, right, someone who's looking for information on that topic can go right to that drawer or right to that category on your website to get what they're looking for. Now, tags are like the file folders inside those drawers. Just as those file folders further help break down and group the content in the drawers and the file cabinets, it does the same thing on your website. It further sorts the data in those bigger topical category buckets. So just like those tab labels, tags help people drill down to the exact thing that they need from a more broad overarching topic, right? And again, just like categories, when they need something on that topic, you're giving them a way to get there as fast as possible. Now, this approach to content organization and information architecture is only truly powerful when that structure is mapped to your offers. And most business owners don't ever do this, right? They create their services page, they create all the money pages, and then they just have their blog sitting over here and they post stuff to it all willy-nilly whenever they feel like it. And there's no rhyme or reason or purpose. It's just whatever they happen to be in the mood for. We don't want to do that. Think about it this way. The internet is like a giant map. The URLs on your website are locations on that map, and links are the roads that connect all of the locations. Links are how search bots and people travel from page to page to page to site to site to site. Blog posts add new locations to your website, and it helps more search engines, more search bots, more people, more of everybody find the content on your site. Because when you create a new location on a map, new roads are created into that location. New links are created into that location. And the more roads there are to a site, the more links that exist to your pages, the more visitors that you'll have, and the more authority and value your site carries with search engines. Now, let's consider this. If you publish new content to your website once a week, it adds 52 new URLs to your website. That's 52 new opportunities for your website to be discovered online. Every single link to one of those URLs is a vote that tells search engines this is worth paying attention to. And it's a new way for someone to discover that you exist. Every business owner that I speak to is really excited about the idea of blogging before they start blogging, right? They've heard all the benefits that it can deliver. They know that it's good for SEO. They know that creating content and using content marketing is one of the fastest ways to get more people to your website so they can buy from you, hire you, and learn from you. But once they get started, very few business owners actually stick with it. It's why so many people that build websites launch the sites and then check in with their clients 3, 6, 12 months later, only to find that they haven't published anything. Most business owners give up on blogging and they claim that it doesn't work because they didn't have a profit-driven strategy. Right? They didn't know how to line up all the effort they were putting into their blogging or podcasting or vlogging or whatever kind of content you're creating, but they didn't know how to align that with the ways that they actually make money, with the things that generate revenue in their business. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about fast paths to cash. A path to cash is a path from wherever a visitor happens to land on your website to moving them to a conversion, right? Signing up for your newsletter, buying a product, registering for a program, becoming a member, registering for webinars, right? Whatever it might be, hiring you for services. Now, the only way to truly understand what I'm talking about here is to illustrate a couple things. The first is shopping at Ikea. If you've ever shopped at Ikea, you might have a love-hate relationship with the brand, like I do. Like, I love Ikea because there's so much stuff in that store that I always walk out with stuff that I didn't need. And I find things that I all of a sudden do need, right? I find all kinds of goodies there. But I also kind of hate shopping at Ikea because it's a total maze and I can never figure out where I'm going. And I can't find a fast way out or a fast way to a bathroom or the stairs or wherever I'm going. And again, I always end up spending more than I intended on stuff that I didn't really need, but it looked cool and it was right there. I kind of dread going to Ikea. Sometimes I tell my husband, no, you just go without me. I trust you, whatever. On the other hand, I love visiting Disneyland, and Disneyland is an amazing experience. Disney does customer service amazingly. Disney crafts carefully crafts paths to cash. Carefully is not, can't even describe how much effort they put into their paths to cash. They do it so well that you don't even notice that they're doing it. And you can do the same thing in your business. So I want to talk about the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. It is one of our family's favorite rides at Disneyland, and it's a perfect example of a buyer journey and path to cash that you can replicate in your own business. From start to finish, from the minute you get in line and there's the murals of all the Toy Story related scenes on the walls and the sounds and the characters, all the way through the ride where you're shooting at all the little green aliens and you're competing with the other person sitting next to you to get more than they are, right? You're immersed in this experience. You're engaged, you're interacting, and it's consistent, right? It keeps you in the magic. Then when you walk off that Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters ride, you walk through a short hallway into the Green Alien Command Store. You walk into another immersive experience directly tied to the experience you just had. You just walked off the Astro Blasters ride, shooting all the little green aliens. You had a fantastic experience. You had so much fun. What does Disney do? Plop you in a store full of things that you can buy and take home to never forget that experience. How many people buy stuff in that store? Well, there's always a line out the door. So I'm pretty sure that it's a successful strategy. Completing your experience on this ride when you're at Disneyland is all about Disney getting paid. It's about squeezing more money out of you, but having you walk away feeling like you were given a gift. Wow, that was easy. Now I have this thing that I can remember this experience by forever. It's a small world. Star tours, all kinds of other attractions across Disney properties all do the same thing. Disney makes more money because they offer the right thing to the right people at the right time, right? We reduce distraction and we create fast, direct paths to cash. Did you see any princess merchandise in that little green store, that little green alien store? No princess merchandise. Did you see any Star Wars merchandise or general Disney merchandise? None, right? We got rid of distraction, and it's all focused on conversions related to what we just experienced, right? So this is what Disney does magically. And we want to approach our blog and our content marketing just like Disney approaches sales. We want to create the right offer for our ideal buyer. And we want to present it at the right time with as little distraction as possible. So the whole goal is to give visitors easy, intuitive ways to engage further with your brand, to take that next step, and to give you money, right? We're not in business to be broke. We're also not in business because we're not a nonprofit, right? We're not a charity. Right? We're in business because we need to make a living. We need to get paid. We need to pay our people. We need to put profit back into our business, right? We need to create experiences that drive revenue and that make it easy for people. So we have to tell them what to do. Now, let's talk about creating those fast paths to cash on your blog, because that's what we really need to know. So when it comes to creating and publishing new content, right? I told you before, most site owners, they're just creating things on the fly. They're flying by the seat of their pants. They have no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. It's whatever they happen to be in the mood for that day. And that's not something that's sustainable. When you create content all willy-nilly and you have no plan, how do you know it's actually going to drive revenue? How do you know it's actually going to drive conversions? You don't. Do you think Disney works this way? That would be no. There's no way they would leave conversions up to chance. And you shouldn't leave them up to chance either. All content that you create on your website needs to have a purpose, right? So the categories on your blog need to align with your core offers and how you get paid. So if you are selling websites, the core categories of your blog need to be directly related to topics that people who are hiring you to build websites are interested in, right? Those categories need to directly align with what you're selling. Now, tags we talked about, they segment visitors by focus, right? So content and the content, right, and the actual post that you're creating, it reinforces your expertise. And because it's assigned to these categories and tags, you can drive people with very specific calls to action. Now, here's the thing. We've talked about how categories and tags work. We've talked about the fact that we need to align our categories with core offers. Now, some of you might be thinking, I have like 800 tags. That is not an exaggeration. I have worked with clients that have hundreds, some that have had thousands of tags, that have had literally hundreds of categories. There is no reason for this. No reason for this whatsoever, right? The majority of the sites that I work on when we're working on content strategy, we're working with 5 to 10 categories and maybe 5 to 7 tags per category. It's tight because anything that isn't directly related to how they make money, we're not giving it a category or a tag. Now we're going to talk about this a little bit more, right? We're going to talk about this clear path to cash and how it's just like my favorite ride, the Astro Blasters. So when somebody comes to your website and they click around the blog, they find just the right category of content and the right blog post. This is kind of like waiting in line at Disneyland, right? You're waiting, you're getting closer, you're trying to find the kind of thing that you need, right? You're trying to get to the front of the line. Well, on your website, they're trying to get to that piece of content that they're looking for. Reading and interacting that piece of content, right? Finding that blog post, that podcast episode, that video, and interacting with it. It creates the experience like actually riding the ride. Then accessing a content upgrade within that content, right? That invitation to take the next step and learn a little bit more about that specific topic. It's like saying, you know what? I want the premium experience. I'll wait until the next round so I can sit in the very front. Signing up for an opt-in offer that's specific to the category, something that's more broad than a content upgrade, right? That's the natural next step. Like buying the ride photo on the way out. You're walking through the hallway and you see those monitors with your picture, like, ah! Right? You say, oh my gosh, I need to have this picture, right? That is like signing up for that newsletter. It's a little step, right? And then acting on a call to action, right? For a paid offer, one that's a natural fit for your ideal clients or customers. That's like making a purchase when you're exiting the ride in that store, right? It's like grabbing that t-shirt or that doll for your kid or that toy that you just can't leave without. It's all tied together and it creates a consistent experience and a path from initial discovery of that first piece of content, that blog post, podcast episode, video, article, tips sheet, whatever it is. And it gives them ways to interact with your brand. It gives them ways to engage with you. Read the content, right? Get a little bit more information. Take it one step further. Grab that bigger opt-in. Take action, right? Whatever it might be. Now, this approach works for a reason, right? This approach works because buyers remain super focused on their needs and their interests, which creates a really positive brand experience, right? We're not sending them all over the place. We're not distracting them with content that isn't related to exactly what they're looking for, right? Buyers encounter a whole variety of helpful options on your site, and they all lead to paying you, right? This is what we want. So at Disneyland, if you don't buy in that one store as you're exiting the ride, guess what? You're going to find all kinds of other opportunities perfectly positioned to coincide with brand experiences that make you say, okay, maybe I'll buy that instead. Well, I didn't spend any money in that other store, so I'll spend some money here, right? They meet you where you're at with an offer. And they do it over and over and over. So why do we as business owners sometimes get trapped in this mindset of like, well, I already asked them once. I don't want to sound desperate, right? I don't need to have, I don't need to keep asking over and over. Well, guess what? Yes, you do. Because the people coming to your website are distracted and busy and forgetful, and they've got a lot on their plate. By reminding them and by providing lots and lots and lots of ways for people to move through your funnel and get to that decision point of hiring you, buying from you, or learning from you, you are making it easier for them to take action when they're ready, right? What this means is somebody who might not take action now can take action later because you're reminding them of the opportunities to do so. Now, we want to use that same strategy that Disney uses on our blog, right? We want to do this to increase conversions and we want to do it to boost our own revenue, right? So again, if a visitor that doesn't take action right away, we make it easy for them to do so. So for every paid offer that you have, whether it's a service, a product, a membership program, right? Whether it's a free webinar, well, let's say paid. We're trying to make some money here. A paid webinar, right? For every paid offer that you have, for everything on your website that generates money, you want to look at what are the specific topics that my audience is most interested in about this offer, right? And create those as categories. That way you have groups of content on your site that are directly related to a service, a product, a program, whatever it is, something that makes you money. Because when you can do that, when you group that content together into a category directly related to how you get paid, you can craft specific calls to actions. You can craft opt-in offers. You can craft things that directly support that offer. So for every paid offer, we have categories that directly are related. In each one of those categories, you should have a goal to have a unique list building offer that solves a little baby step, right? Now, most business owners think, I'm starting a website. I want to build an email list. I need an opt-in offer. And they create something free and they say, you give me your email address, I'll give you this free thing. They put it on their website and then they kind of don't do anything with it. Here's the problem. One, if you have a free offer, you have to market it. It's not going to do a whole lot all by itself. Two, one free offer. How is that going to be directly relevant to the experience that someone's having on their website? Disney doesn't have one store. They have like 100 stores in their theme park. If you think about it this way, one opt-in that you have on every page of your website, which is what experts preached for years. Create an email marketing opt-in. Put it on every page of your website. Well, that's great and everything. But if I'm reading a blog post about email marketing and you're giving me a general opt-in about 10 things I need to know before building my website, if I'm taking the time to read the article about email marketing, I'm probably more interested in email marketing. So doesn't it make sense that for all the blog posts on your site related to email marketing, the opt-in offer displayed for those posts is about email marketing? It makes way more sense. We're doing what Disney does, and we're meeting our users, our visitors, our potential customers where they're at with information that they are interested in. Remember, people coming to your website care more about themselves than they care about you. They're all about what's in it for me. How are you going to help me? What are you going to do for me? What am I going to get out of this? They have a problem. They have a challenge. They have something they need fixed, something they need addressed, something they need solved, and they're looking for somebody to help them do it. The more focused you can be with your content and your offers, the more you can make your opt-ins and your calls to action directly related to what they're interested in, the more they'll feel like you created your website just for them. The more they'll feel like you get them and understand them, the more they'll feel like you are exactly who they've been looking for. Now, in every category, you also want to create blog posts, podcast episode, videos, whatever kind of content you like creating, right? You want to create those posts that confirm why your offer is important. What kind of difference is it going to make in their business? What kind of difference is it going to make in their life? Why is it important? What can it do for them? Then you want to highlight your expertise and your experience, demonstrate your knowledge, show them the depth that you bring to the table so that they see why you would be a great choice, right? And provide them some direction. You share tips, you share some resources, and you show what's possible. When you have these blog posts directly related to the things that make you money, all of a sudden, everything is tied together to create that consistent experience, just like Disney does. Now let's take it one step further. In every blog post that you write, link to your other content and create content upgrades. Now let's talk about this for a minute. We talked earlier about how links are the roads that people and search bots travel through the internet to go from page to page, to post, to website, to discover new content. When you publish new content to your site and you link to other content that's directly related, you're giving visitors and search engines more ways to discover your content. You're giving them more ways to engage and interact with your brand. And you're giving them more opportunities to see your calls to action and your opt-in offers and your content upgrades. Now, every time I talk about this, I always get the question, what's the difference between an opt-in offer and a content upgrade? Here's the biggest difference. A content upgrade sits within a blog post and it gives somebody more information on this particular exact topic. If I'm reading about on-page SEO, a content upgrade might be, hey, like this blog post about on-page SEO, want to learn how to do it yourself, right? Get our checklist so you don't forget anything next time you're optimizing a page. It's directly related to the specific content on the page. Whereas an opt-in offer is a little more broad, right? It's a bigger, larger topic. It's usually a bigger, larger offering, right? A content upgrade might be a checklist or a tip sheet, where a bigger opt-in offer might be a video series or an ebook, right? So one is a little more broad and one is a little more focused. Now, in every free item that you give away, every content upgrade, every opt-in offer, every free download on your website, you get to choose what goes in that, right? If you've got a PDF somebody is downloading, you get to choose what is inside that PDF. So why not make it work for you? We want our content to drive revenue. So if we put a lot of effort into creating something that's free, let's make sure that free thing sends people back to the things that put money in our pockets. So when you're creating a free download, when you're creating a PDF, think about what can you add at the end? Add a one sheet for the program that you're promoting, for the next step, right? Add a flyer, put an ad, right? If you aren't selling something yet, if you're brand new and you're just building your brand, put a one sheet at the end of that PDF that has your picture on it and your bio and invite them to connect with you on social media, right? You have the power to make those free items go to work for your brand, right? I have one client that has several free offers across their website, probably upwards of about 25 at the moment. Every single one of those has 2 pages at the very end. And we put it at the end because we want to give people what they signed up for. But as they're clicking through that PDF, there are always 2 pages at the end. One is an ad or a flyer or an offer for something directly related to that free offer that they're selling with a link to go check it out. And the second page is their bio. It's actually their speaker one sheet. And they do get booked for podcast interviews and speaking engagements from that inclusion in those free offers, right? So you have the power to decide how to make these free things actually go to bat for you, for your free or for your paid offers, right? From blog posts to downloads to getting paid. We're creating all kinds of different paths to cash, right? We're helping people move through the buyer journey in whatever way works for them, because different people have a different path that they're on when they're buying. Different people need different amounts of comfort and confirmation and information. So by having different calls to action, by having different offers, by having different paths that people can take and having a lot of them, you're letting people move through that buyer journey in a way that feels natural and comfortable to them. Now, after every blog post, and I mean at the end of every blog post, we'd want to make sure we're including a call to action. I've mentioned this a few times already, but we include a call to action at the end of a blog post to invite visitors to take the next step and either hire you, buy from you, or keep learning from you, right? If they're not ready to part with some money, we at least want to get them on your email list. So at the end of every blog post, include some kind of call to action, ad, opt-in box, whatever it is. Hey, if you like this post and you want more, right? If you want more content just like this, check out this category for the rest of our blog posts on this topic, right? If you want to take the next step, if you want to learn how to do X, Y, and Z, download this free offer, right? Check out this free offer that we have. Or if you're ready to go all in, right? Book a call, right? And let's talk about how we can work together. These kinds of calls to action at the end of your blog post help visitors stay engaged. Because if they've made it to the end of a blog post, guess what? It means they like what they read. They liked it enough to stay all the way to the end. And what happens in most cases? We do nothing. We just leave them hanging for them to figure out what to do next. And nobody wants to be left hanging. So do your visitors a favor. Tell them exactly what to do next. If you like this and you want more, check out this category of posts. If you like this and you're ready to take some DIY action, download this free thing. If you're ready to take the next step and you want some help, let's work together. Book a call, right? You make it easy and you tell them exactly what to do. The bottom line here is that the more fast paths that you can create, the more opportunities you actually create on your site for people to pay you, right? It's all about making sure that you have that profitable content structure, that you're not just creating content all willy-nilly all over the place with no plan, but that you have very specific categories aligned to your offers, so that when you sit down to create content, you say, all right, I'm going to write a blog post. I'm going to plan out my next 5 blog posts. I'm going to plan out my podcast episodes. I'm going to plan out my videos. What topics do I need to be writing about? When you have those categories mapped to your offers, you can look at those and say, I need to create content on these topics, because these topics are directly tied to how I make money. These topics are directly tied to the revenue and the profits coming into my business. Because when we make money, right, when we're successful and we're able to translate visitors into cash, guess what we're able to do? We're able to hire help, expand our team, reinvest in our own business and learning and growth. We're able to add margin into our schedule so we can go to webinars like this, right? So we can go to WordCamp, so we can go to events and keep learning and keep getting better, so we can provide more value for our clients and ultimately raise our rates and bring even more cash into our business, right? So the whole idea here is that we're creating, right, the right offer for the right person at the right time, right? Just like Disney does. Just as you walk off the Star Wars ride, you walk into the Star Wars store, and everything in that store is completely focused on the Star Wars worlds, right? The whole universe or multiverse of Star Wars or Marvel, right? When you walk off rides that are directly tied to Marvel. The same thing is true with It's a Small World. You walk off It's a Small World through the little gazebo, and it's all the dolls and it's all of the things from around the world that you can purchase at that particular moment, right? That's what we want to be thinking about in the business. The right offer, the right person at the right time. And if you have 50 or 60 categories, if you have hundreds of tags, how on earth do you do that, right? It makes it really, really difficult, right? So here's one of the things before we kind of, wrap up a little bit. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I'm going to share some insights here with you. When your content structure isn't architected around the way that you get paid, is when it isn't architected around your offers, that's when categories and tags get out of control. And that is the biggest mistake that website owners make when they're blogging and when they're doing content marketing. We're creating all of this content that's disorganized and messy. The reason that categories and tags exist is to create high value archives of content for people who are looking for that content, looking for information on that topic. When you have way too many categories and tags, here's what happens. Somebody comes to the site, they click on a link for a category or a tag, and they find one post. That's not helpful. Right? Why even have the link there to click? That's not a helpful, good user experience. That's a bad user experience. Or what happens when you use categories and tags like keywords which is a big no-no, folks. But what happens when you use them like keywords and you assign 10 categories to one blog post or 20 tags to one blog post? When someone comes to your site and they say, oh, look, I'm interested on these topics, and they click on those category or tag links, what happens? They see the same posts over and over and over again because they're assigned to 10, 15, 20 categories. That again creates a really negative user experience. They're like, I'm seeing the same thing over and over again. This isn't helpful. And when they're frustrated and they don't have a good experience, they leave and they go somewhere else. When you take the time to be really purposeful about your content architecture, when you take the time to be really purposeful about how you organize your blog and your categories and tags, you make sure that you're building high value archives. I have a rule when working with clients that we don't create a new category or a new tag unless we have a minimum of 5 blog posts already written on that category or tag's topic. For some clients, I like to push that to 10 because they look crazy. It depends on how often you're publishing content. But the goal is that if somebody clicks on a category link or if somebody clicks on a tag link, they find a rich archive of valuable content on that exact topic, that it's highly focused. When you give your users, when you give your visitors that gift, when you organize your content that well, it doesn't just benefit them. When your categories and tags are really strategic, you can say, hey, I'm going to create an opt-in offer that's specific for this category, and I want it to show up on every post in this category. So you can get more specific with your marketing. And the more specific you are, the higher conversions you see. You can do the same thing with a call to action. If I have a category all about typography, then maybe at the bottom of that blog post, my call to action is all about how they can get better at using type on their website, right? But I can say, put it on every post in this category. So I can do a better job at managing my content marketing and the conversion funnels that I'm building on my website to move a visitor who just discovered who I am all the way to a conversion to get on my email list and continue learning from me every week, or to register for a webinar, buy a product, enroll in a course, whatever it might be. You have the power as the site owner to architect a profitable platform. Most people never take the time to do it. They skip right to the sexy part, the design. They want to talk about colors and fonts and images, and they want to jump right into customizing their theme because it's visible. It's easy to see. Building out your content structure, it's behind the scenes. Nobody sees it. You might be working hard, but nobody benefits from it until you're done, right? So a lot of people skip this part. If you as a site owner take the time to sit down and work on your content strategy and work on creating that profitable content structure where all of the content you're creating on your site is aligned with the offers that make you money, you will be propelled ahead of all of your competition that skipped this step to go straight to the sexy fun stuff. And while they're wondering why their website isn't producing the results they want after all the effort they put in, you can laugh all the way to the bank because you're enjoying those conversions, right? You're seeing the people come to your site actually take action. You'll see people spend longer on your site. Their session times will get longer. You'll see them visit more pages, and you'll see them signing up and opting in and taking action and enrolling, right? And that is all about what creating fast paths to cash is about. It's about making sure, again, you meet the people that come to your site with the right offer at the right time. That way, they feel like it was their idea. that they feel like it was organic and natural and not salesy and pushy. And that's when you get people to truly become brand evangelists and to link to your site from their blog posts and to share your content on social media and to recommend you and refer you to their friends and their peers and other people in their network, right? And that's really where this magic starts happening. That's what it's all about. All the effort we put into building that structure on our site and to architecting our content is all about positioning our brand so that people want to share, right? So people want to tell the world about you. So you don't have to work quite as hard to actually get out there and market yourself, because we're all busy and we don't want to add tons of extra work to our plate, right? We don't have time to create a billion different things. So I'm going to leave you with one last tip before we wrap this up. And that is that you might have listened to this whole webinar presentation so far, and you might have thought, I don't have time to create content upgrades and opt-in offers, right? I barely could get the one on my site done. How am I supposed to have one for every category? Are you cuckoo, right? This is what I want to leave you with. You don't have to make creating these things its own task. It actually doesn't have to become any extra work on your plate. The secret is deciding what you want that offer to be, outlining what content needs to go in that offer, right? If you're creating, let's say you're writing a short ebook, you decide what the topic of that ebook is going to be, you outline the table of contents and get as specific as you possibly can. Make that table of contents outline, and then each thing in that outline, create a piece of content for it that you can use to market your business. Write a blog post, create a YouTube video, do a Facebook Live, post an Instagram story, post something to LinkedIn. For every single thing in that table of content, create a piece of content and put it out there. Benefit from it. Get the links, get the engagement, get the SEO benefit of publishing all that content. Then, once you've created a piece of content for everything in that table of contents, all you have to do is gather them together in a Google Doc in the right order, clean it up a little bit, and guess what? Your opt-in offer, your content upgrade, whatever it is, it's already done. And you didn't have to do a whole lot of extra work. It just became part of your regular content marketing, and it didn't become a new giant thing on your to-do list. So this is something that everyone can do, no matter how busy you are, because we still have to create content to market our business. We have to get out there and be on social media. We have to publish new content to our blogs so we grow our footprint and our discoverability online. Because if we don't do it, nobody will know that we exist. And they cannot hire you, buy from you, learn from you, or get on your list if they don't know that you exist. So, with that said, we've covered a lot today, right? We've covered a lot in terms of structure, in terms of categories and tags, in terms of making offers, tying your content back to your offers. I've seen we have some questions in the Q&A. So why don't we open it up and we'll start taking some questions and dive right in.
Thank you. Awesome. Let's read the Q&A.
Sounds good.
Okay. So Maria Margaritis says, what did you do to get on the naughty list mug? It was the
That's funny. I'll tell you. I got this mug at Target and I totally loved it because my husband always jokes. We're huge Star Wars fans, and he's always jokes. He was like, you would be a Sith before you would be a Jedi. And I'm like, you're probably right. You're probably right. So I couldn't help when I saw this and I'm like, naughty list? Yes, it's so much more fun to be naughty. Taking it.
That's cool. Thank you. We have Molly Molly Nicholson. Do you allow tag and categories to be indexed on Google?
It depends on how much content is in the categories and tags, right? So you have the choice to have your categories and tag, your category archives or your tag archives indexed by search engines. Sometimes we turn this on and sometimes we don't. I turn it on when the client has a lot of content in each category and tag, right? That has enough content that says, this is a really valuable archive, right? I want to make sure that it's discoverable. I also turn it on when we put effort into writing introduction content for those categories and tags, right? So if you're going to link to your categories from your sidebar, if you're going to link to them in a dropdown in your navigation, if you're going to link to them in kind of the taxonomy at the bottom of a blog post, right? If you're going to put the effort to have those categories and tags out there, one, make sure there's enough content. I like to say at least 5 blog posts in that category or tag first. Then once you have that good archive in place, invest some time into creating an introduction. Write about the topic. You have the name of the category. If the name of the category is, let's say it's typography, right? Write some content about why typography is important, why you are writing about typography, the role typography plays in the services that you're delivering, right? Give us some good, meaty, keyword-rich introductory content, and then invite people to check out the posts below. In that case, then yes, I'm like, please Google index these. We're putting some effort into making sure these are really rich archive pages. If the client doesn't have a whole lot of content, or the content is kind of thin, or they're not investing in creating those archive pages as kind of landing pages, then I don't archive those. Like, I don't turn those on to have them indexed, right? So hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you. We have a question from Roger Noguera. Some tools to review the post and help the writing or quality of the content.
Oh, tools to review or help the writing or the quality of the content. So one, there are tools like Grammarly available, right? That will check your spelling and your grammar and things like that as you go. So tools like that are always really helpful. But I will tell you, I have found there are 2 things that make the biggest difference when I'm writing. The first, well, let's say 3. There are 3 things that make a big difference for me when I'm creating content. The first is I start with my content creation not on the computer, right? I don't start digitally, because where I start is figuring out, what am I talking about and what's the story I want to tell, right? What's the problem that I am addressing? What's the problem? What's the challenge? What's the solution? Why am I writing about this? Why am I creating content about this, right? Why it needs to be fixed and how it can be fixed. And then we walk through what that is, right? So I first, it's really coming up with a good structure and story and outline for the content that you're creating, because that's going to make a big difference to help you stay focused and to not go down kind of these tangents and rabbit holes, to keep your content really, really focused and on track. The second thing is reading your content out loud. Right. I have a program called Content Creators Club. It's a new program I launched a few weeks ago, but it's me copy editing your work live on Zoom once a month. So people show up with their blog posts, their social media profiles. They show up with whatever it is they're working on, right? And we pull it up in Google Docs, and I edit it live and we talk through it. And one of the things that somebody messaged me about after our last session was that I read everything out loud several times. When you read your content out loud, it sounds totally different than it does in your head. Because when we're just writing and reading it in our head, what happens is our subconscious skips words, and we think that words are in there and they're not, and we think it sounds one way. But when you read it out loud, the way that your mouth has to shape the words and the way that things have to work in your brain to say the words out loud, you'll immediately find weird sentence structures, run-on sentence, words that are too similar, sentences that have the same word used multiple times in the sentence. You'll find all these things from reading it out loud. So I never, ever write content without reading it out loud. And then the third thing is that I always try to have somebody else read it that's not too close to me. Because when we create content on a topic that we know really, really well and we're comfortable with, we tend to make assumptions, like everybody knows this, or everybody knows this, or we leave some details out because it's just obvious to us. So you always want to run your content by kind of a neutral third party. And I ask, does this make sense? Was there anything that was confusing? Or was there something in there that you didn't know what it meant? Right? That's one of the benefits that people have in Content Creators Club when they work with me, right? When I'm working through their content, I'm asking questions like, what does this mean? How does this work? What is this doing? How does it map? Tell me about what you're offering again. Oh yeah, we need to talk about this differently, right? But it's having a neutral third party who isn't too close to it. Take a look at your content. So those three things have been the most helpful for me. And yes, I always have a tool like Grammarly turned on to help check my spelling and help check my grammar.
I like the suggestion of having your content run by a third party. That's good.
Yeah.
We have another question from Aditi Magdalena, maybe a beginner question. Can you speak to the difference between tags, category and tags vis-a-vis how you use them? It's a good question.
Sure. So I actually think that's a great question. So one, categories and tags aren't used for pages. They're only used for posts. And categories and tags are just the default taxonomies. They're the default ways of organizing content that's built into WordPress. So if you have a WordPress blog, you can organize your content by category or by tag, right? That's built in. Categories are like let's look at headlines for a minute, because this is the easiest way for people to understand this. An H1 is the main headline on a page. And then an H2 is the subheadlines underneath that. An H3 you only use to break up the content inside an H2, right? You would never go from an H1 to an H3. You would never skip one, because an H3, a heading level 3 in WordPress, it's meant to break up content within the H2. Categories and tags work the same way. The category is the main topic, and then tags are meant to break up that main topic into smaller chunks. So if we look at it like a file cabinet, the category is a whole drawer that's labeled with a fairly broad topic, right? So a category might be web design. Then inside that drawer are little file folders that are labeled with more specific things. So if a category is web design, right, the tags might be color, typography, right? It might be color, typography, imagery, page layout, or page composition, blocks, right? Things like that. Like it narrows down web design. So I would never use tags without using categories, right? So you set a category as a broad topic, and then if you want to narrow it down, you might set some tags. I have some sites I work on, like one of my sites, every blog post only gets one category. And on one of my sites, every blog post only gets one tag. That's it. One category, one tag. I have another post where every blog post gets one category, and it can have as many tags as it wants because there are a jillion tags on that site, but only a few categories, right? So it depends on what you're writing about and what your content strategy is, but categories first, then tags to break up the topics within that overarching category. So hopefully that made sense to you.
Yeah, thank you. I think
Oh,
it's
perfect. She says very clear.
Yes, I think it was very clear the way you described it. Thank you. Okay, then we have Phil Ward. Can you briefly, wait, 2 questions.
Yep.
He has the question. In WordPress, are there ways to tie your categories and tags, post/pages to your navigation and or your offers/action pages automatically?
Yes. The answer is yes. So I am a designer and a content person by trade, not a developer. So exactly how you do that, I would have to tap my developer. But in WordPress, you have the ability to do this a couple different ways. So in your menus, you have the ability to add a category to a menu, right? So I'm working on a redesign of my own site, jenniferborn.com right now. And one of the things is I'm readjusting my navigation to work a very small number of categories into my main navigation. So my number 1, my nav menu will say blog, but it'll have a drop down with 5 categories below it. And that's it. Every single thing on my site will fit into those 5 categories, right? So you can add categories to your menu if you want and have them accessible there, right? You can add, and then you can add category links to your sidebar and things like that. But you have the ability in WordPress to add things to a category-wide template to say, I want this particular opt-in offer. I want this particular ad. I want this particular sidebar. I want this particular thing, this call to action, to show up on every blog post in category A. And you can make that happen. There's even the ability in WordPress to say, I want my content upgrade, that my blog post optimization checklist, I want it to show up after the 3rd paragraph of every blog post in the blogging category. So you can even choose where to inject things in your content with WordPress. And there are all kinds of different tools to do that. And there are different ways to do that. Not the developer here, so I can't tell you how to do it, but it is possible. And it is possible to do it automatically, so you don't have to set those things every time you publish your content.
Thank you. And then Phil also is asking if you could briefly explain Google indexing, just a reminder of Google indexing, a little bit about it.
Sure. So when you create a website, right, it's basically like your digital footprint, right? When you create a website, it's your house on the internet, right? Just as you buy a house in the real world, right? I'm sitting in my home office here. We own a home. I own this little piece of property that I'm sitting on. That's your website online. It's your home online. And you have kind of this defined amount of space when you launch your website. And Google might come and check out your website and it'll say, oh, good, something new exists. Should I rank it? I don't know. Let's see what it's about, right? So search engines, just like people, want the same thing. They want high value, focused, relevant content to what they're searching for, right? So if somebody is searching for a specific topic, Google's goal, Bing's goal, Yahoo's goal, whatever, the search engine's goal is to give that person the most relevant, best content on the topic they're searching for. So your goal with your website is to be highly relevant to what people that are looking for what you do are searching for. Now, that's really hard to do if you have a teeny tiny little website with a home page, an about page, a services page, maybe your testimonials page, and a contact page. That's really hard to do because guess what? A lot of us don't have tons of content on those pages. That's why having a blog is so important. Every time you publish new content on your blog, you add a new URL to your website, right? Every single time you publish something new, you add a new URL, which means if we look at a piece of property where your house is at, every time you publish a new URL, you get a little more land, a little more land, a little more land. You're expanding your digital footprint. You're expanding your presence online. You're making your presence bigger. And the more you publish and the more URLs you have on your site that have valuable content on it, the more likely it is that someone else is going to find you. And the more likely it is that a search engine is going to come and check out your site and index your pages, right? Because we can set it up so that every time you publish new content, it pings Google, it pings the search engines and says, hey, something new's here, come check it out again. Hey, we published something new, come back to our site and check it out. If you don't publish any content for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, Google has no reason to come back and check out your site. Many of you may be familiar with somebody named Chris Lemma, right? Good friend of mine, blogged every day for years, then kind of took a break and didn't blog for a little while. And what happened? Traffic to his site went down. And then he started blogging again every day. And traffic is going up and up and up and up and up. And Google is sending him more and more and more traffic because he's training the search engines to say, we better check this site every day. New content is coming out of this site every day. We better go back and check it often. He's trained the search engines to know this is a site that publishes regularly, so we should go back and look at the content regularly. So when you invest in blogging, when you invest in actively producing content on a regular basis, you're telling people, hey, I've got something new for you. Come back and check this out. And when you publish that new content and you link to your other content, when search engines come to your site and when people come to your site, you're giving them more paths to follow to discover more of the content that you're creating, right? And that's the whole goal, is to get our hard work and effort discovered by as many people as possible.
Wow, that was great. I love the Google, how you were able to explain in simple terms what Google indexing is.
Awesome.
Yeah, very nice. So then we have another question from Maria Margaritis. If I'm just getting started with blog content, should I make my website public or wait until my courses and products and blogs are done? So if I only have one blog right now, for example.
Get started right now. Don't wait.
Wait.
Don't wait. And here's why, right? Well, a lot of people think, oh, I can't get out there until everything's done, right? I can't get out there until all the things are done. But you're actually doing yourself a big disservice, because the longer that you have a presence, the longer that your site exists, right? The longer that you've been producing content and showing up, right? Every time you're publishing content, you're building brand equity. You're building a following. You're building community. You're building a reputation, right? If you don't publish any of your blog posts until you're ready to start selling, what happens? You have no audience. Right? It's okay to start a website with one blog post. Now, it's not okay to launch your website with one blog post and in 3 months still have one blog post. Right? We don't want that to happen. But if you have one blog post, launch that site and get it out there, share it on social media, then publish a second, and then a third, and then a fourth, as you're building your courses and your products, right? That's perfectly fine. Because here's the great thing about WordPress. One, as you're creating this content, you're building an audience for your courses and your products, but you can go back to those blog posts later and you can say, okay, I didn't really have a big content structure at first. I didn't have all of these things in place at first. Doesn't matter. But you can go back and say, okay, great. I've got 25 blog posts on my site now. Can I group these into maybe 3 categories? Right? You can go back and assign categories and tags to old blog posts. Right? With there are tools that even let you do it in bulk, right? But you can go back, like I have gone back in my own site and gone back and redone the categories and tags several different times over the years. And I do it in client sites all the time. If your categories and tags are indexed by search engines, we have to do redirects if we change those, right? So we don't have broken links. But it's better to get started and get out there and then go back and say, okay, right, let me go back and add categories. Let me go back and add tags. Or let's say it takes you 6 months to get that course or that product done. Well, you have 6 months of blog posts that you've been creating. You get the course, you get the product, you put it up on your website, you get it for sale. Now you can say, all right, every post I've already written that's directly related to this course or that's directly related to this product, I'm going to go back, put them in a category, and add a promo for that course or product to every single one. And when you do that, it'll go back and add it to every one. And now you'll have all of these blog posts that you had already written. And now magically they could all have an ad for that course or that product, right? That's the power of WordPress, right? We have the flexibility to change things and to edit things and to go back and add things, right? So don't wait, get it out there right now.
Thank you, great. We have 2 more questions from Phil.
Sure.
One is about derivative learning. Are you connected to Steve Krug's books, Don't Make Me Think?
I have read that book.
Oh, you have?
I'm not connected to the book, but I read it.
Okay. I'm not really sure what the Phil meant. We have another question from still Phil. Pardon the previous typo. I think she's talking about WordPress, maybe. I think WordPress plugins allow you to allow categorizing pages too. Not sure which ones, but I have used them. WordPress plugins that allow you to categorize pages. Yeah, probably.
Sure. There are like 58,000 plugins in the repo, so there could probably be a plugin to do that. I can tell you, I have never, ever needed to categorize or assign taxonomy to pages, right? So categories and tags are the default taxonomies that ship with WordPress blog posts out of the box, right? You have a WordPress blog, you have categories and tags. Now you have the ability to create things called custom post types, which is a different kind of post, and you can create custom taxonomies. For example, I have a family adventure and travel and recipe site, and my taxonomies are adventures, right? Like I don't have categories and tags. I have adventures, I think adventures and details, or in recipes, I have meal types and ingredients instead of categories and tags, right? So I've used lots of different types of taxonomies and custom post types, but I have never, ever needed to categorize pages. So that's an interesting use case.
Thank you. I don't see any other question. So I wanted to ask you if the people watching you want to learn more about you, should they go to your website, jenniferbourne.com, or?
That is probably the best place to go. At jenniferbourne.com, you can learn all kinds of things about me, check out my blog posts, and it'll connect you with all of my social media accounts. I'm at Jennifer Bourne on pretty much every platform but Instagram, because I only joined that to spy on my daughter. So my handle on that one's a little bit different, but now I really like it and I publish there all the time, but that's no business on Instagram for me.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't see any other question. So I'm going to let you go, let everybody go. Hopefully we'll see you at all of you at other webinars. We have several, as you probably know, because you receive emails from us. Thank you to Erica for her help here. Thank you. And thank you, Jen. We'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thanks for having me.
Jennifer, was a great presentation. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.